Morning in Pinewood felt like the hush before a secret unfolds. The air was crisp enough to carry the faint tang of chimney smoke and the soft rustle of golden leaves skittering across cracked sidewalks. In the heart of the town, between a faded laundromat and an aging florist's shop, stood a humble apartment block. Its brick walls were chipped from years of wind and rain, but it was home to Emma Codwell and her 6-year-old daughter, Sophie. Emma, a night shift nurse at Pinewood Medical, pressed her hands around a chipped mug of instant coffee. Exhaustion lay beneath her eyes, a weariness carved by grief and unanswered questions. Her husband, Mark, had battled pancreatic cancer until his last breath, and when he lost that fight, Emma inherited a war of survival, silent, relentless, and entirely her own. As students streamed past her window, bright backpacks bouncing with morning energy, Sophie trailed behind. Emma watched her daughter's small shoulders slump beneath an oversized jacket until she slipped into the school doors. Months had passed, and Sophie still hadn't bridged the gap to friendship. A quiet kindness was stirring beyond Emma's knowing, a kindness that would soon upend everything she believed about loss, healing, and hope. What could that act be, and who would it touch next? Lunchtime at Pinewood Elementary was a symphony of clattering trays, crinkling wrappers, and bubbling laughter. Children traded cookies and groaned over soggy sandwiches while teachers hovered, enforcing order. In the far corner sat Sophie at a long table, her purple lunchbox open before her, a peanut butter and grape jelly sandwich cut just like her father used to slice it, a bag of crisp carrot sticks, and a juice box. No one asked to trade, no one slid in beside her. Sophie had grown accustomed to the hush around her, filling it with daydreams and notebook scribbles. Once her lunch was done, she slipped behind the playground oaks, towering sentinels offering silence and protection. There she felt safe from whispers and sideways glances. But today safety would arrive in an unexpected form. Among the shadows of the oak trees, Sophie spotted him. A thin German shepherd pressed against the chain-link fence. His coat was patchy, ribs faintly outlined beneath scruffy fur, yet his eyes shone alert and curious. Sophie froze, her sandwich still in hand. The dog's ears pricked up, body low but hopeful. Without speaking, Sophie knelt, tore her sandwich in two, and slipped half under the fence. "You can have it," she whispered. The dog sniffed, then ate with soft, eager bite. Seeing him eat brought the first genuine smile to Sophie's face all week. "I'll call you Shadow," she murmured, as if revealing a secret. "Come back tomorrow." Little did she know, Shadow would keep that promise. Just as frost laid its first jewel blanket over the grass, Emma jolted awake to frantic knocking. "Mom, come quick!" Sophie's voice quivered at the door. Emma threw aside her blanket and stumbled down the hallway. Through the frosted glass, she made out a low shape heaving breath. When she opened the door, cold air swept in, and there lay Shadow, curled against 3 trembling puppies barely larger than her palm. One let out a soft squeal. Shadow lifted his head, meeting Emma's eyes with urgent trust. Sophie, barefoot and wide-eyed, whispered, "He brought them here." "He trusts me." Memories of her childhood fear, a vicious dog bite at age 7, tightened Emma's throat, but Sophie's plea rang clear. "They need us." Emma hesitated. Could she open her world to these 4 unexpected guests? Emma stepped onto the porch, slippers damp with dew, and knelt beside the shivering bundle. Shadow watched silently as she scooped the tiniest puppy into her arms. "All right," Emma whispered, voice trembling. "Just for tonight. Just for tonight." But as she carried them inside, she sensed that just tonight might stretch far longer. By dawn, she had wrapped the puppies in clean towels, placed them in a laundry basket lined with Sophie's old blanket, and settled Shadow nearby, his breathing labored but watchful. With trembling fingers, Emma dialed Pinewood Veterinary Clinic, her first call in months. What would Dr. Wells say when he saw this ragtag family on her doorstep? Dr. Jonah Wells arrived in his warm flannel jacket, leather bag in hand. His silver hair peeked from beneath a cap, and his calm voice reminded Emma of gentler days when he treated Mark's therapy cat. Kneeling beside Shadow, he ran practiced fingers along the dog's spine, checked his pulse, and brushed aside tangled fur. The puppies whimpered in their makeshift bed. After a silent moment, Jonah sighed. "His name isn't Shadow, it's Ranger," he said. Emma blinked. Ranger belonged to Walter Briggs, a Marine vet. He was trained for PTSD and stroke alerts. Emma sank to the floor in stunned relief and sorrow. Walter, Jonah explained, had been moved to a care facility, his son unable to manage Ranger. Abandoned and owned Ranger had found Sophie, our Sophie, and chosen to trust her. Emma knelt, awe softening her fear. This was no ordinary stray, this was a hero in search of a home. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Sophie nestled beside the laundry basket, naming the puppies Milo, Oreo, and Maple with infectious delight. Ranger, though still weak, patrolled their little brood with protective vigilance, especially over tiny Milo, who struggled to nurse. Emma moved through each day like a tightrope walker, 12-hour hospital shifts, piling bills, and the ever-growing demands of her new family. Yet every wag of Ranger's tail, every coo from Sophie, fueled her determination. But reality soon reminded her that love alone might not pay the rent. Returning from a grueling shift one Thursday, Emma found an orange notice taped to her door. Unauthorized animals on premises. Comply or vacate within 72 hours. Her breath caught. Rent was overdue. Credit cards were maxed. Yet inside, Sophie knelt beside Milo, stroking his frail head. "He didn't eat much today," Sophie said softly, eyes downcast. Emma lifted the pup, noting the shallow rise of his chest and the chill of his fur. "I'll call Dr. Wells first thing," she promised, heart pounding. With the eviction notice crumpled beside her, Emma felt the walls of her world closing in. Outside, Ranger sat on the porch steps, gaze fixed on the road, aware of an approaching storm no one else could see. Could they survive this tempest together? That storm arrived just after midnight. Thunder growled low, and rain lashed the windows in a relentless rhythm. Emma lay awake, haunted by visions of Milo's labored breathing and the eviction notice waiting in her drawer. Sophie slept curled beside Ranger on a pile of blankets in the living room. As Emma drifted, a sudden gasp jolted her upright. She raced down the hall to find Sophie sprawled on the floor, limbs jerking in spasms, eyes wide and distant. Ranger barked, sharp, urgent, and nudged her as if shielding her from danger. Adrenaline surged through Emma as she gathered Sophie into her arms. The seizure lasted less than a minute but stretched time into an eternity. When Sophie went limp at last, Emma wrapped her in a blanket, grabbed her keys, and threw herself into the car, with Ranger leaping in behind. Where would this emergency lead them next? At Pinewood Medical, doctors moved swiftly. An MRI and battery of tests later, a pediatric neurologist delivered news that shattered Emma's heart. Sophie had epilepsy. It wasn't her first seizure. It had been building unseen. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her as she sat in the waiting room, clutching a paper cup of machine coffee. Sophie slept under observation, and Ranger lay at her feet, calm, alert, as though he'd known all along. Back home, Milo's condition worsened, and Emma faced an impossible choice: fight for them all or surrender someone she'd come to love. Letting go, she realized, wasn't an option anymore. What salvation might emerge from this storm of challenges? Soon Emma noticed a pattern. Ranger sensed Sophie's seizures before they began. One quiet morning as Emma poured cereal, Ranger rose suddenly, barked and nudged Sophie's leg. Moments later, Sophie's muscles stiffened, juice cup tumbling from her fingers. Emma caught her just in time. After this happened again, Emma called Dr. Wells in disbelief. He knows before it happens. Jonah didn't laugh. He asked them both to come in. Observing Ranger's response, he explained that some dogs, trained or instinctive, can detect chemical shifts preceding seizures. Ranger, already wired for alert work, was picking up on Sophie's changes. Best of all, a local university animal medicine partnership agreed to cover full certification training for Ranger and even sponsor Milo's treatment. Emma stood in the parking lot afterward, tears in her eyes, Sophie's hand in hers, Ranger sitting proudly beside them. Could this unexpected gift be the miracle they needed? One quiet Tuesday, Emma received a call. Lucas Briggs wanted to see her. Lucas, Walter Briggs's son, stood at the clinic desk, guilt shading his tired eyes. "I didn't know what I was doing," he confessed. "Bills, Dad's care. I thought Ranger would be all right." Emma didn't answer at first. Ranger sat calmly by her side, as if understanding every word. Lucas offered to sign over Ranger's ownership and cover Emma's moving expenses to a pet-friendly rental. He also donated to Ranger's training program. Word of their story rippled through Pinewood. Hospital nurses organized a fundraiser, a hardware store owner offered a free dog fence, and Sophie's school invited Ranger to be their honorary therapy dog. Was this the beginning of a new chapter for all of them? Their new home wasn't grand, but it was warm. Cinnamon-scented lights streamed through the windows in golden ribbons. A small fenced yard let Ranger stretch his legs while Sophie giggled in the sunshine. Milo, once on the brink, bounded alongside his siblings, Oreo and Maple, though those two found loving homes of their own thanks to town families moved by the tale. Sophie laughed more these days, seizures fewer and always flagged by Ranger's vigilant bark. Ranger wore his navy blue certification vest embroidered with Sophie's name and a tiny heart. Emma joked he still stole toast crusts whenever he could. How much richer could life become when kindness finds a way? One afternoon, as Sophie curled beside Ranger on the couch, she patted his gentle flank and said, "I think he was always meant to find us." Emma brushed a curl from Sophie's forehead and whispered, "And we were meant to find him." In that quiet moment, the simple truth shone clear. A single sandwich shared in kindness can set a chain reaction of compassion no one sees coming. And when it does, it doesn't just change lives, it saves them. Who knew that the smallest act could begin everything again?